It's Ashley Brockington from Losing It with Sam and Ash and leader of Team Thrive. And we are traveling right now to a Super Saturday, which is like a big quarterly Beachbody get-together they have in different regions. So we're going there to meet with everybody, learn, and do a big workout. And I thought, I would maybe take some time to share about our adoption story. And I'm really loving Periscope because it allows me to share on the fly. I don't have to prepare anything. I can just kind of speak from my heart, hopefully get to know me and realize how imperfect and crazy I am. And hopefully that's encouraging to you. So first of all, I would say if you are considering adoption at all, don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for enough money. Don't wait. Just don't wait. I mean, it was something, so for me, it was something that it was just never on my radar. It kind of felt like it was how some people are called or not called to be missionaries. For whatever reason, I just thought that if you could physically bear your own children, that's what you would do, that you would just, have your own kids. It was for other people. I remember growing up hearing people say, when I grew up, I really want to adopt. I was like, well, that's cool. That's good for you. Ironically, all the people that said that aren't adopting because XYZ. They could have their own kids, or they don't have enough money, or whatever. And I'm saying that so condescendingly, but I guess it's because that I never had that desire in my heart. And I feel like if you have, and it's lived and it's breathed and it's grown, then just do it. I don't know what you're waiting for, because if you follow Jesus, he says to take care of the orphan and the widow. And my babies aren't orphans. They never were, because God prepared me for them and showed me that they were going to be part of our family. And so they were never orphans because I was their mama. I was not physically able to care for them, but spiritually I was praying for them and loving them from the moment God put them into my heart, and and before they came out of their wonderful tummy mommy's womb. And that's just something, if you ever do adopt, something one of the social workers kind of said that might be a good terminology to use, especially for young children, is a tummy mommy, because their birth mothers are their mothers. They didn't abort them. And if you think that they didn't want to, or think about that, or go to do that, or make plans, then yeah, it's on every probably unplanned pregnancy that's on their radar. That is a top choice, and they didn't do that. And so yes, they are their mothers too, and I'm not taking that away from them, because they gave them life, and they saved their life, and they made a really hard choice. So it's okay for them to have two moms. And I am not sharing the parenting responsibility. I didn't feel like that was the healthiest choice for my sons. But I'm not saying that if that's not a situation that God had called me to, that I would say no to it. But that isn't the plan that was, offered to us. And so it wasn't something we ever had to really worry about or think about. But that's kind of how I will, bring up the subject at some point. It's just explain they are their tummy mommies. That's who carried them and loved them for those 9 months. And that's okay. And, I think it's really beautiful that today, it's such a different day than it was when our parents grew up, because there's so many types of blended families. And, we moved from Florida to a place that was very affluent and Caucasian, to a place that was a lot more, like, the classes weren't so divided, and there were, like, a lot more racial diversity, for that reason, not just for our two youngest sons that happen to be African American, but for all of our children, because I don't want our oldest three that have light skin to be thinking that, like, oh, my poor brothers, or oh, it's so strange, or oh yeah, this is how our family is, or like feel weird about it. No, someday they'll realize that other people, but I don't want their thinking to be formed by immature, minds that have small worldviews. Okay, so just as far as process, I don't think I'm going to go into the actual story today of how we came to adopt, unless somebody asks that. Then can somebody like tap it to see if the screen to see if it's working, or ask a question just so I can see if it's working, because yesterday it wasn't. And maybe I need to flip it. I have a hard time with it sometimes. Yeah, I don't know why sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, well, if you are asking questions, I'm sorry, I can't see them. But, okay, so anyway, process. So when we first felt called to adopt, we didn't know if it was going to be international, foster care, private. I mean, there's just so many options, and there's not a better or a right option. I mean, the way I think of it is, God, just the same way that, God allows, a fetus to form and to be developed and come to life, and He specifically places that pregnancy and that child into your life. He does the same with adoption. And like, what I think is beautiful about it is that when you adopt, it's, not only are you like answering a call for a need, that's not how it feels. Like, maybe at first it feels like an answer or something that you're doing out of faith, but then you're just mom and dad. It's just like, it doesn't matter. But it's real confusing at first. So I looked at so many things, and kind of what I found is, a lot of the conventional, like, larger adoption countries that you would hear about, like Russia, China, different, Ethiopia, like, a lot of those are closing. It's becoming really hard to adopt from there. Like in China right now, it's pretty much only special needs. But I will say that you shouldn't be afraid of that, because, well, one, you might feel called to special needs children, and two, like, a lot of these children that are labeled special needs, it's because they had, like, an illness when they were a baby that could make them have hearing loss, or they've got some type of, like, a webbed foot, or, something like that can be easily fixed. Some of them have, heart conditions or things like that they would tell you about. But I have quite a few friends now that have adopted from China, from special needs programs that you would never know, or it's like a corrective surgery type thing. Oh, I saw some hearts. Thanks. That's so fun. So don't be afraid. Sam's laughing at me. Don't be afraid, necessarily of that terminology if you don't feel called to it, because, like, they would ask you what you were comfortable with, and then that's how they would filter. But I mean, I have friends who adopted from China, non-special needs, and one of them took like 2 to 3 years, and their other child took like 5 years. And so then my friends that have done special needs, it's like a year. It's a lot less, because
it's quicker for my friend Steve.
It's even quicker for Sam's friend, like 9 months or 6 or 9 months.
Really
So Yeah, so I would say also, like, as far as time schedule, just because one agency or something tells you, like, it takes 2 to 3 years, or a bunch of people scare you or something like that, it doesn't always take 2 to 3 years. That depends on what agency you're going through, because you have to realize, like, if it's an overpopulated agency that, like, works with a couple orphanages or a demographic in a certain area, and if they have hundreds of families, adoptive families, then of course there's a waiting list. There's just no way. But if you work with either like a smaller agency or a lawyer or something like that, it doesn't have to take that long. We were told, it can take like 2 years. And so we decided not to do international, mainly because I just felt like God was like, your child is here, like your son is here. And so that's why we decided to pursue local, like national adoption. And I really had this feeling that he was African American, or I at least knew like he was dark skinned. And that's like a whole other story of how God kind of like showed that to me. And I know it sounds weird, but so we started out with an agency that a friend had used, and it was so like confusing. There is a website, I think it's called like Loving Shepherd Ministries, I believe. Google some like shepherd, that kind of thing, and it has something where you can go and fill out a little profile, like what you're looking for, and they'll give you a list of agencies that meet that, like that set of, and it can be like international, national, special needs, not special needs, certain country or certain states, that kind of thing. But they'll give you a list of different agencies that might be a good fit. So I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more like about national private adoption right now. That's just what I know the most about. And so we went with an agency, and I called them on the phone. I knew somebody that was a lawyer that knew the lawyer that was in charge of the agency. And so what I've kind of discovered is that agencies, and this is not meant as a dig, but it was a little bit of a kind of an eye-opener, is that agencies are basically lawyers surrounded by a marketing agency. So it's a lawyer that you should really care about, because they are who is like making sure things are done right. They're who have the relationships with social workers, with other lawyers that are representing the birth mom, because you really want the birth mom represented by somebody else, and you're going to pay for that. You're going to pay for that, just to keep things clean, like just to honor her, because like, wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't you want somebody representing you and making sure that you were protected? Because nobody wants to take somebody's child from them. That is not an orphan. That is not like the fatherless that, is talked about in the Bible. Nobody wants to take somebody's child, or through coercion or anything like that. So, lawyers should be making sure that this is done right and honorably, and that this is really what the mother wants. They should be making sure that they are going through counseling. If there's a lawyer representing the mom, that's what she would do. Make sure she's going through counseling. And that's what's right. So it's good. So agencies, we started with an agency. They had like kind of a Christian name, and it was a Christian agency. And like now what I see is, oh, so what does that mean? I'm going to get like a Christian baby? No. I mean, what does that mean? The lawyer's a Christian? I don't know, because I never talked to her. I called her for weeks and weeks and weeks, and she never called me back. Who did I talk to? I talked to a really nice social worker on the phone maybe once, a secretary once or twice, met the social worker at our house once, and once we finished the home study, which took like a month and a half, then never heard from them. Would check in. I'm like, hey, remember us? Do you have any situations for us? They're like, oh yeah, it takes a long time. Never checked in months and months and months and said, hey, are you doing okay? I know this is hard. And I'm like at home selling things on Craigslist and crying and like thinking, oh my goodness, this is so weird. Like, what if I'm not supposed to do this? What if this is all in my head? So, you know, like kind of what I've seen now is, so the lawyers are doing the work, and then they've got social workers that are usually, I mean, these social workers get paid like $14 an hour. So they're usually right out of college, single women that have to travel, are, you know, on call because these babies are being born all types of night, of the, you know, day and night. And usually from the beginning, when they do your home study to your last home study, they are not there anymore. Usually it is a different person. And I'm not saying this to scare you, because it doesn't really matter. The home study is so minor. So like, if you are not doing something real weird, like if you don't have like rats and mice infesting your beds and like, I don't know, crazy stuff like 6 kids in 2 bedrooms and child abuse. I mean, we had, when they came for our second one, we had a baby in our bedroom still. We did not have a lot of room. So in our house, is messy, and that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for you. Are you going to be a good parent? And they're not judging you. They're just like making sure it's safe. So home study, do not worry too much about. The social worker, they are not your judge. Don't worry like about that. But I do want to let you know, like with agencies, there is a lot of turnover with social workers. They kind of are your main person, but they, I mean, honestly, they have usually really small amount of experience for the amount of kind of power you give them in your minds. And it's the lawyers that are really, you know, pulling the strings and everything. But really with the agency, in my experience, you really get very little. You know, because if you think about it this way, like with an agency, they're charging about the same as a lawyer does, but they are paying social workers $14 an hour to handle things, and secretaries, whereas with a lawyer, you're paying the lawyer by the hour, even if they're talking to you. So actually, you're paying way more, like per hour, for the agency, because you're getting no time with the real deal. They're basically pocketing all the extra money that they're overcharging for, like social worker time with you, FaceTime. Okay, so obviously I'm not super pro agency. My sister went with the agency and got charged like extra money when her daughter was born. It was like not the best situation. It doesn't matter now. So how did I change from agency? I heard about a lawyer that a lot of other friends had used, and I didn't want to do a lawyer because a lot of her situations were in a different state, and I did not want to travel with an infant from a different state. That sounded horrible. I also was afraid because they charged by the hour. So like, let's say you are with an agency or somebody else, you sign up with a lawyer, they do 5 hours of work for you, you know, and then something else happens, like you decide not to adopt, you adopt through something else, you pay that lawyer for those 5 hours of work they did. Whereas with an agency, you sign up with them, they show you a match, you give like half the money, you lock it in, and then if like it falls through, then you're still locked in and stuck with the agency. Even if the money applies towards another one, there's no wiggle room. Like you're locked in. With a lawyer, if something happened and it fell through, you would only be out the amount of time that they spent, not just this lump sum that makes you locked in. Also, like with my lawyer, she didn't care, like, if you got pregnant during during the waiting time or match time or whatever. She's like, that's awesome. I hope you get pregnant, you know? We weren't trying, but she said, if you do, that's great. Not a big deal, you know, that kind of thing. A lot of times agencies, if you get pregnant, you have to put the adoption process on hold till after you have the baby and it's old enough, and then you can start it again, which is just like, why do they get to decide that? So the agency, so we went from an agency, a lawyer, kind of I don't know, just God brought them into our lives, and they brought us our Isaiah, but when it came time and we were approached about Malachi, we had already paid the agency to finish our whole home study. And so we needed them to come and update our home study, and they refused to. They refused to do it because they did not feel it was best for a family to adopt 2 babies within 1 year. They would not finish our home study, update it, because they felt it wasn't best for a family to adopt 2 babies in 1 year. And she said it's because I sounded overwhelmed on the phone. And I'm like, I just got a call about a baby being born any day. We are deciding to go out in faith and figure out how to come up with the money, add a 5th child, and my husband's been working 3 days, and the kids are being crazy. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I am a little overwhelmed today. And it was like really, really hurtful, made me like doubt my abilities as a mom. And, you know, it just, I don't know, like that's just, I don't know. I just have really, really enjoyed my situation once we were with the lawyer, because so the lawyer kind of came to me. She's like, hey, I talked to my colleague, so-and-so, and they had met you at this fundraising dinner, and they said you were interested in adoption. I have, this situation. Would you be interested in it? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, we've been waiting for 5-6 months, and our agency hasn't ever even called to see how we're doing. Yeah, we would be interested. Long story, lots of details that I'll share another time. Short, this lawyer, Cheryl Payne at Quarles and Brady, she, Naples, Florida, I totally recommend her, like, above and beyond, love her. She just totally took care of us. Our Isaiah's tummy mommy had all sorts of counseling from a counselor that had been a counselor for 14 years. We worked with a social worker who had been a social worker for like 15 to 20 years, and he did it freelance independently, so he was not just, like, the money went straight to him, not filtered through, so he was getting a tiny portion of it, but it was less expensive or the same. Everything was just done where it's like people were specialty driven and really good. Like my lawyer, I mean, yeah, I'm paying her by the hour, but there's times when you are freaking out in your mind, waiting for responses, what's happening with the situation, and she would let me text her. And like just having that direct line to the person that knew what was going on was really amazing.
And they gave us 5 or 6 situations at least between the 2 kids.
Yeah, so we signed up with her basically
Yes, I think 4 times.
in like April, May, 2 years ago. And between that time, like April and the next February, they came to us, I bet, December, January. They brought us, I think, 5 or 6 situations that were like, hey, what about this? What about this? Can you find a family for this? Can you help me find a family for this baby? And then finally with Malachi, it went from, can you help us find a family for him to, we think he's for you. We think, oh my gosh, I could cry. And this is a side lesson, like, not that I'm like everybody's teacher. Side note that if you are passionate about something and you believe you have something that will change somebody's life, do not be hesitant to offer it. Because they may not know that they need it. They may be resistant to saying yes. But when you tell somebody, I have something that I believe is for you and I believe will be great for you and help you, first of all, you need to listen. It's not, God does not like tell other people to speak, like he will speak to you, but you need to listen and be open, but you also need to realize that you have that power in someone's life. Because when my lawyer came to us and said, we believe that this situation, we feel like it's for you, like it just seems right. It seems like he would be a good match. And we decided, you know what? Okay, God, if you want to provide $25,000 in the next 3 days, we're going to say yes. And you know what? God provided that money in 5 hours. And we said yes. And I hold my Malachi every day. And I look at him and I think, why did everybody say no to him? Like, they didn't know him, but why would they say no to him? And thank you, God, that we said yes, because I adore him. Like, I just can't even imagine him. It made no sense. We did not have the money. We had already had a 5-month-old in our bedroom. We had 3 other kids that we homeschooled. Sam was in school still. It did not make any sense, and yet he is just an angel. Like, his name means, like, angel from God, and we just adore him. And so I mean, I don't even know how I got off into that. I mean, that was just about, like, if you have something to offer someone that will help them, don't worry about if they judge you or not. Because if Cheryl, our lawyer, had not been bold enough, even though everybody would have been like, stop, don't ask her, like, she's overwhelmed, don't do that, she's surviving, if she wouldn't have done that, my life would be a much sadder place without my Malachi. So I hope this helped. I mean, that's kind of my very short version of my private adoption story. Okay, so talking about money, because I know that is like a big issue, but it just does not need to be a big issue. So Sam, as a nurse, was making like $50,000, and I tell you that because adoption costs like $25,000 to $32,000, about $1,000. Sometimes they're more, but that's across the board for anything that's not like state-driven or foster care. Private, international, it's about that much. Which is crazy because, like I said, that's like half of his income, and 2 of them is like the same, or it was more than his income, so it made no sense. But God always provides. He always provides. You have to wait for his timing because it's one specific child. Like, they're only conceived at one time. It's not about getting a kid. It's not about just doing this thing. It's about one specific child that you can't give the genetics to that is supposed to be in your family. And it's timing. So you've got to be patient because you don't want just any kid. And you can't just give up and think, it's not happening, it's not for me, because it's nothing you can control. It's supposed to be specific. It's supposed to be one specific child in your family, designed for your family, you designed for them. And so it's like priceless. I mean, really? First of all, really? It's the rest of your life. It's the rest of their life. So $25,000, $30,000, really? You're saying, like, that's not worth it? That's not worth it to hold that child, to love that child for the rest of their life, to empower them, to find out what they're good at, and to, like, help them be that person? That's not worth $25,000 or $30,000? Yeah, it's worth it. Figure it out. Okay, we didn't have it, so this is what we did. I'm a hoarder, so I went and I found everything that I could possibly find, and I tried to sell it on Craigslist. That is a hard way to do it, but that's what I did. I found old flat irons, and I would sell them for $10, and we would drive like 30 minutes to sell them, and we probably didn't make money. But you know what? I would tell my story, and sometimes people would give us double the money. And I didn't do that because I wanted people to give us more money. I did that because it was just my heart. I would just say, thank you so much for purchasing this. This is going towards our adoption. I really appreciate it. So I sold stuff. Garage sale, like, horrible. We are bad at it. I have a friend, Amy. If you ever want to do a garage sale, let me know because she's really good at it. We lost money every time because we would be so hungry by the end that we would go to Pollo Tropical and we would spend all the money that we made. So that was not a profitable, good thing for us. Craigslist selling, it was okay. Amazon selling, that was also okay. You still have to wrap it up, send it. But let's see. I started a blog, just blogspot.com, and I just started sharing my story. And I put a PayPal link on it. There's also like GoFundMe and that kind of stuff. And I just told people, like, here's my story, we're adopting, I'm sharing. I would share updates on Facebook and any social media, just like anything with social media, you want to make sure that you're like, it's interesting, and it's not just like, gimme, but, you know, you want to share. So people gave, like, they gave a lot, and I'm like super, super grateful. I went to my church, and I said, it's up to you. Oh, whatever. We can go to Starbucks real quick. We're almost to the place we're going. What was I saying? Social media. What I did. Oh, I went to my church and I said, hey, do you have an adoption ministry? Do you have a fund? Would you be willing to do something like that? What if I did a big fundraiser and I started a adoption fund, not just for me, but for other people to come? And they decided no, they didn't want to do that. But they talked about it as a board, and one of the board members, anonymously, I know who it is, had adopted, and they offered $4,000 as a matching grant. So we went out, and I have a list of adoption grants that somebody gave me that is amazing. I mean, you can Google, but I'm telling you, I don't think there's anything that's not on this list that I have. I tithe my adoption money, my money that I make from Beachbody, I tithe it towards adoption. So, you know, if you want to kind of become adoption buddy friends, I would love to help you out with that. So the guy at my church said he would do that as a matching gift. So I would encourage you, if you're part of a church body, just make a meeting with the pastor or the leadership, even if it feels uncomfortable, because if you're part of a church, it's their responsibility to help you out, like it is. Now, mine didn't do it corporately, but somebody stepped up, which was awesome. And now you better believe that I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep crying. My dream is to be able to one day, and hopefully sooner than later, be able to just pay for somebody's adoption outright. Just outright. At least do that once. So yeah, go to your church, ask them, and then start filling. If you're thinking about adopting, I would say get a home study done as soon as possible, because you have to get your blood taken, you have to get FBI fingerprints. There's depending on who you go with, there can be tons of paperwork. But we got it, I'm a pusher, so I got it done in days, a week. Just made a bunch of appointments. Had to get a physical or something. So you can get it done really quickly. And I would say get the home study done right away, because if you get a call, if you start telling people you want to adopt, you never know. If you just get a call randomly for somebody and you want to be ready to go. And then also you can't apply for grants until you have your home study done, and sometimes grants take 10 weeks to get back to you, so you really don't want to wait. And we received $13,000, $14,000 through grants each time, which is crazy. And a lot of them, 2 of them I should say, were matching grants. So I said, that man at the church, he gave $4,000. There was 2 grants that were matching for $2,000 or $2,500. So I just had him write 2 checks, one to one and one to the other, and just like that, one person doubled the grant money. So you can be kind of smart about if you have a contributor, you can't write a check and double the grant yourself, but if you have a parent or a contributor that wants to do something big, then have them, if it's okay with you, have them kind of wait and say, hey, I'd like you to put it towards this grant if we get it. Let's see. So that's grants. Okay, there's a tax refund that's incredible. And I know I'm talking about money, but I think anybody that's actually considering adoption for real would understand that the money is a really scary part. So the tax refund is $2,500 up to it. It's for your tax liability. So the more money you make,
it's $12,000.
Sam said it's like $12,000 now.
It's a credit.
It's a credit. So the more money you make and your tax liability is, the more you're going to get back. But your accountant can spread it out over 6 years. So like, let's say the first year you only get $8,000 back. Then the next year you would have, that $4,000 that you could claim and you could get. So I mean, we had $10,000 this year that we got back as a tax refund, which is just insane. So it really is a huge help and a reward. You have to come up with it at first. I would not say adopt so you can get this tax credit, but it really helps. Like, it's a huge blessing. So don't be afraid of the money. Like I said, there's grants. People will help. You have to be connected with people. You have to tell your story. You have to get to know them, but people will help. You want to be connected with the right type of people that would help you too. There's grants, there's the tax refund, you can sell on Craigslist and that kind of thing. I mean, looking back, I am doing this online fitness coaching. I wish I had done that because we could have paid for the adoption like no problem at all from my phone or my computer. So I wish I had been doing that instead of like spending hours cleaning off old baby stuff or like toys and trying to sell them at Once Upon a Child, waiting there for 3 hours and getting $2. I wish I would have just been working like a online networking type business. I wish I would have done that. But yeah, the money is scary. The other thing that's scary is, what if my baby is messed up? So not good to think that way, but that is definitely how we thought. Like, you get this form and it's saying like, would you consider a baby that has heart defects? What about their parents have a history of like bipolar disease? What about, and you're thinking, oh wow, so I really thought I was a decent human being, but now on paper I can see that I'm pretty much scum because I want a perfect baby that I can plan out on paper. And that's really hard to deal with, to see basically like your heart on paper. And you go through a lot of emotions. You also go through a lot of emotions when like it's been months and you haven't heard anything and you're thinking, what am I doing? I want this child so badly, so badly, that now this is becoming about me. And it's just this head game, but it's okay. Like, you need to go through this stuff because it's good. Like, you can't live in a world where you either don't try and don't get, or you try and you get every time.
That's where it showed up.
Okay. So it's worth it. It's worth the struggle. It's worth the wait. Don't be afraid of the hurt. Don't be afraid of if it falls through. Because this is one baby, one child that's supposed to be in your life. Maybe it's going to be more. Don't be afraid of it falling through. I mean, we had 2 situations fall through, and one baby passed away. All 3 of them were, 2 of them were like after the baby was born, and one of them was months before that it broke off. None of them I was holding the baby for. We didn't go there. And so I know I have friends that's happened to. But you know what? They heal. And God has a plan for them and has a child for them. And I'm telling you, when you hold your child that you're supposed to be with, it all makes sense and it's all worth it. Okay. It's all worth it. So, I have to go, I think, now, but if anybody has any questions, I'm walking into Target real quick. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to try to tilt this way, then I can answer them. I'm going to look so crazy. Does anybody have any questions about adoption? Anything that, I didn't cover? I just want to encourage people to never not do something because of fear, because the greatest reward comes on the other side of fear. So it's just not, and I see that there's a couple on you who are adoptive parents, and I know you would back me up on this. It's the greatest reward you'll ever have, because it feels like the greatest blessing and the greatest gift that you never deserved and you didn't earn. that was just given to you. And so all the struggle you go through, it's like, it's a huge, big, just a perspective builder of, I don't know, like, why me? It goes from, why me? Why can't I have kids? Why did I have a miscarriage? Why did I have a stillbirth? Why did my other adoption fall through? Why don't I have money? Why did I have to wait so long into, why me? Why did I get to be their mom? Like, why? Why was I the one chosen in all the earth to raise this life? And like, so like move from one why me perspective to another why me. And if you have the desire to adopt it all, consider that a blessing of faith. And because I didn't have that for like 31 years. So it's a big, huge, blessing, I guess, in like, what's the word? Like, I don't know, I guess an honor that this would be on your heart, that you would even be considering it, because I feel kind of selfish that I didn't. It was just not for me for so many years, and I'm thankful that God, like, opened my eyes to it. Look, you want to see something beautiful? You see that blended family? I love that. Sorry, I notice it a lot, and it makes my heart really, really happy. So thanks, guys, for joining. I feel dumb asking this, but tap it. Give me a bunch of hearts, because that helps. And I really want to use this Periscope to help people and, like, just, I don't know, use the different things that I've learned to teach people. And it's a cool thing because I can do it, like, in these in-between moments when I'm in the car and traveling, or the kids are down from a nap. It doesn't have to be a big prepared thing. And so it enables me as a mom to like reach out to people and speak into their lives without having to take time from my own family. Thanks, guys. Okay, I hope you have a really good Saturday. Bye.